Hello guys, welcome back, and today I'm going to be talking about the Derick Brassard for Nick Bjugstad trade. Now, a huge trade was just announced between the Florida Panthers and the Pittsburgh Penguins. So what are the trade details and who won this trade? Watch till the end to find out. Now, this trade is super interesting for both the Florida Panthers and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now, this trade was first reported by Darren Dreger of TSN, of course, but of course, the big part about this deal is the big fish in the pond, Derick Brassard, going to the Florida Panthers. Now, I'll first talk about who Pittsburgh acquires in this deal, and Pittsburgh gets Nick Bjugstad, Jared McCann. Both are centers. Nick Bjugstad is age 26, Jared McCann at age 22. They both have had I think McCann has had the better season so far. Bjugstad has been pretty snake-bitten. For Bjugstad, he's played 32 games so far this season, getting 5 goals, 7 assists for 12 points. And as a 26-year-old center, you do want more from that, especially with Bjugstad pretty much being in his prime. But for the Florida Panthers, he hasn't been 100% healthy this season and could get a huge boost from playing in Pittsburgh. Now, when it comes to Jared McCann, he is also a center. He was drafted back in the 2014 NHL draft in the first round by the Vancouver Canucks. He's went with the Florida Panthers and has had a decent stint there, but now goes to the Pittsburgh Penguins. He has played 46 games, getting 8 goals, 10 assists for 18 points. He's at age 22 and still has some room to grow, so that's not a bad player for Pittsburgh to get whatsoever. And of course, also getting Nick Bjugstad. Bjugstad will likely be the 3rd center on that team, maybe Jared McCann being the 4th center. We'll see, but now with Pittsburgh, they have some more flexibility, and they also just get a little bit younger with this trade. Now, on the Florida Panthers side of things, Derick Brassard, Wylie, Sheahan have both been sent to the Florida Panthers. There also is Pittsburgh's 2nd round pick in 2019 and Pittsburgh's and Minnesota's 4th round pick in 2019 also being shipped off to Florida, which in my eyes is very good for the Florida Panthers. Now, Derick Brassard is a 31-year-old center. He has been amazing in the past with the Ottawa Senators, and when he was traded to Pittsburgh, it seemed like a pretty solid fit and one that would definitely work out for the Pittsburgh Penguins. That was what I thought at the time, but with Pittsburgh and Derick Brassard, the relationship was never quite there. Brassard has never really performed so far in Pittsburgh in his 2-year stint there, and that whole experience with Brassard on Pittsburgh hasn't worked up to this point, and especially this season, it just has not worked whatsoever. Now, Derick Brassard so far this season has played 40 games, getting 15 points on the season, and for Derick Brassard standards, that is pretty meh. You want to see better from a Derick Brassard, but Florida also gets a player that is probably likely to bounce back, so that is a good bonus for them. They also get Wylie Sheahan, who of course was with the Detroit Red Wings, ended up going to the Pittsburgh Penguins, and has had a decent stint there so far. In 49 games so far this season, he's gotten 9 points there, and it hasn't been the best, but when it comes to his on-ice percentage, he has 20% in the offensive zone, so he's not even getting started there. He's not given much of an opportunity in Pittsburgh, but on Florida, he could get a bigger opportunity, probably going to be the 3rd center on that team, which for him, I think he will flourish in. Now, a big thing about this trade, I think, is that there is no salary retained between any of these 4 players. Nick Bjugstad, no salary retained. Derick Brassard, no salary retained. So it's just pretty much 1-for-1, is back and forth, but there is no salary retained, so Pittsburgh doesn't get any more cap, Florida doesn't get any more cap, which is very interesting. Now, on paper, this was announced to be Bjugstad, McCann for Brassard and Sheahan at the first moment, and my first impressions was I was kind of iffy on it, but I think Florida won it. But then we heard that the picks came in, the 2nd round pick and the 2 4th round picks, and while that isn't amazing per se, that isn't like Pittsburgh's 1st round pick, that is still quite a bit of value that Florida does get back. So while on paper I fought for the 4 players, I think Florida won it already. They also get that 2nd round pick and 2 4th round picks, which definitely puts it in their favor. But I can see how Pittsburgh maybe gets away with this trade, maybe wins it. If Jared McCann, again, he's only 22 years old. If he turns out to be something, that could be pretty solid for Pittsburgh. And Nick Bjugstad ain't bad either. While he doesn't put up amazing points, he's a pretty great defensive player. So Pittsburgh could win it in a way, but I do like how Florida does get Derick Brassard back. They do get a decent player in Wylie Sheahan, and they do get that 2nd and 2 4th round picks. So for me, I like Florida here, and I do like Derick Brassard going on Florida. We'll see if he ends up getting traded again from Florida, but I feel like if Florida does end up keeping Brassard, he will be a pretty solid guy for a potential playoff run if Florida goes in that 2nd half streak that we all know and love. But even if Brassard is traded for nothing, and even if Wylie Sheahan doesn't perform in Florida, they still do get those extra picks that will help their cause later. If Florida does end up actually drafting well off those, we'll have to wait and see. But I feel like Florida just gets away with it, especially with the picks that they do end up getting. So for me, I like this trade for Florida. I do like the players coming back. Derick Brassard, I think, could definitely help that team be a great second-line center for them. And for Derick Brassard, his time in Pittsburgh was really, bar none, he really did not perform whatsoever on that team, and it seemed like he was never a fit from day one. But going to Florida, that could be a new atmosphere for him, a new team, and who really changes scenery can make some players just explode, and that might happen to Derick Brassard. He has great talent. He's shown that on Ottawa before, so with Florida, I think they're getting a pretty solid player here. But of course, all the players that ended up in this trade are centers, so this isn't need for need really when it comes to these two teams. It's more like changes of scenery. Players like Derick Brassard, I think, kind of need that. So when it comes to this trade, it's not like Pittsburgh is filling in their need of centers. It's not like they're filling in their need as a team in general. They're just getting some centers that what they think would be better fits on their team. And Bjugstad could fit pretty well. Jerry McCann could be a pretty solid player for them, but we'll have to wait and see. But with this trade, of course, it's a swap of centers, and then you got the picks involved with Florida, which again, I think pushes in the favor of Florida here for them to win this trade. And of course, with this trade, Brassard was looked at as a guy that would be one of the biggest guys at the trade deadline, at least when it came to centers. But Derick Brassard was a key guy on the market, but for Florida, to get him, they didn't really have to give up too much. And of course, they ended up getting a guy like Wylie Sheahan. Again, they ended up getting the picks involved. So for me, Florida does get one of the bigger fishes in the pond. While I'm not insanely in love with Derick Brassard, I don't think he's the best player in the world. He is still a very solid center that could really help Florida. And for Florida to get a guy like him, they didn't really have to give up too much, even though Bjugstad is a solid center, even though Jerry McCann is still young. I feel like to get a guy like Derick Brassard of his caliber, they didn't have to give up too much. But because Florida is in the playoff hunt right now, and because Florida still has some needs on defense and goaltending, I feel like this is not the last time we'll see Florida around the trade talks and in these trades. I feel like there is a lot more to come of Florida, and even on Pittsburgh's side, I feel like we will see some more change leading up to the trade deadline, and I feel like a lot of trades are in store for both of these teams. But of course, this is the time of the video where I award a winner of this trade, the Florida Panthers or the Pittsburgh Penguins. And by how I've talked in this video, you guys, you could probably already tell. But for me, I'm going to say the Florida Panthers win this trade. I think the players that they got back are very, very valuable. Guys like Derick Brassard, they didn't have to give up too much for. And while Bjugstad is a solid player, McCann is a solid player, I feel like getting those players back like Sheahan and Brassard will be good for their team. And also getting the second round pick, also getting those 2 4th round picks ain't bad either. And also for Florida, they didn't have to retain any salary, which again, big bonus points for that. Now, that's not to say that Pittsburgh couldn't win it down the line, but right now, I feel like Florida did get away with this trade. I feel like they got the better hand here, and I feel like this is still yet to come. There is still more trades yet to come for both teams, but I feel like this is the first piece of the puzzle for both Pittsburgh and Florida. But for me right now, I'm going to say that Florida wins this trade, especially for the picks that they ended up getting. But of course, with this video, I want to hear your guys' thoughts down in the comments down below. So let me know, what do you think about this trade? Who do you think won? What do you think about the players going involved? And of course, who do you think won this trade, Florida or Pittsburgh? Now, if you guys want some more Grav videos just like this one, you can click on this card right here to hear my thoughts about the new 2019 Stadium Series jerseys. But that is going for today, guys. If you guys enjoy, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you haven't already. You can comment down below your thoughts on this trade and which team won. And I'll see you guys in the next video or stream. Goodbye.